Pakistan's jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been indicted on fresh charges as his party mourns protesters killed in the capital last month. But the government has denied any protesters had died. Let's go live now to Islamabad, where I'm joined by Dr. Maleeha Lodhi, Pakistan's former ambassador to the United Nations, US and UK. Good to have you with us, Maleeha. Now, the last time we spoke with you was in late November when mass protests were happening in Islamabad, where you are. Now, the government claims that 5 members of the security forces were killed. But the PTI held a day of mourning for the protesters, and I spoke with Aleema Khan earlier this month, and she claims that there was a massacre of protesters. So what do you think is happening?
I think there were casualties on both sides. Certainly there were security personnel who were killed and injured. And on the opposition side, the opposition leaders say, and they've said this repeatedly now, that 12 of their activists were killed. The government itself has made conflicting statements. Some ministers have said, yes, something like 5 protesters may have been killed, while others have said, no, we don't have the evidence, and they've actually challenged PTI and Khan supporters to present them with the evidence. So, I mean, what we see are really conflicting accounts of what happened, but I think there is little doubt that people were killed. And that the way the protests were crushed really reflected the kind of repressive actions that the government has decided to take against Imran Khan's party.
Yeah, of course, there were those who also covered the protests, including one YouTuber who's been arrested and charged with terrorism. Do you hear these things are becoming increasingly authoritarian there?
Very much so. In fact, I write a weekly op-ed, and in my last op-ed, I said we are seeing increasing resort to repression by a government that has become more and more autocratic. So I've actually called this democratic backsliding and democratic regression. Not only are we seeing opposition protests being prevented, being crushed, we've also seen crackdowns against opposition activists and supporters. Hundreds are in jail right now. Some are facing charges. Some don't even have charges against them. And along with this, of course, we have also a crackdown on the social media. Twitter has been banned for several months now. And now there are some reports, and I think informed speculation, that the government is planning to bring in laws to criminalize the expression of dissent on social media.
And this sort of autocratic move by the government, do you see that being also, in the background at least, supported by the military?
Well, I mean, that is the allegation that the opposition makes repeatedly. It accuses the establishment of backing this government. And the government itself makes no secret of the fact that it has the support of the military for being in government, as well as for the actions that it is taking. So I think, Pakistan seems to be in for a prolonged period of political confrontation, more political turmoil and turbulence, which I think is going to cost Pakistan's weak and still ailing economy very, very heavily.
Yes, and also on related issues, there are fresh charges against Imran Khan and his wife, Bushra Bibi, over the illegal sale of gifts. Now, are we coming to a stage where one simply can't keep count of how many cases there are against one of them or both?
Well, I think Imran Khan himself faces upwards of 100 cases. And they range all the way from corruption to abuse of authority, to leaking state secrets, to terrorism, and to inciting riots that took place in May, which also targeted military installations. So I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we've lost count. He's been indicted in several cases. He's also serving a sentence. I mean, this really seems to be overkill by the government, which seems to clearly fear Khan's popularity. I mean, if he wasn't that popular, there really wasn't any need to keep bringing fresh charges every week against him.
And at the same time, we are seeing also that the former head of the intelligence agency, the ISI, Faiz Hamid, he's been indicted on multiple criminal charges, including political interference. How unprecedented is something like that for a former head of the ISI? And what does it tell us about the military's role at this moment?
Well, it's a historic first. There's no doubt about that. Never before has the head of the ISI, which is the Inter-Services Intelligence Agency, the premier military intelligence agency, never before has its former chief been indicted in this manner and detained along with that. So yes, the question really is whether this is, this is the beginning of accountability of those in the military who go beyond their professional role, or is it a one-off because this gentleman happened to have been associated with Imran Khan and with Imran Khan's government? So I don't think we have the answer to that question, but it is a critical question.
Okay, Dr. Maleeha Lodhi, really good to get your insights there from Islamabad. Thank you so much.
Thank you.